Wake up. Stop slurping your coffee.
That's how you're supposed to drink coffee.
Okay, let's just get started.
Podcast.
Hey.
Is it weird that I always sit with my legs crisscrossed?
Sarina had to be extra today and put a fucking live camera on us.
YouTube, Instagram, podcast listeners, Spotify, Apple, all the things. We're all over the place. Why not, dude?
I mean, people could listen to the conversations live, or they could go to the podcast and listen to it. You know what I was thinking? Could they even hear from that far?
Maybe not.
They don't have
Should I bring it closer?
It's up to you.
Can you hear? Check it on your phone.
Sorry, guys that are listening.
Yeah, they can totally hear. All right. What are we talking about today?
Well, first of all, as I always say at the beginning of every podcast, everybody go to audibletrial.com/Cafecito, JJ and Sarina.
But also the link is in the show notes.
In the show notes and in the bio for the YouTube page or the YouTube video. When you see it, get your free book, get your free week.
Literally, if you don't have an Audible account, I don't know what you're doing. And second of all, this link that we give you, which is actually if you're on Instagram, it's literally in my bio. If you click on the link in my bio, if you're on YouTube or listening to the podcast, the link is in our show notes. It gives you a free book.
Get a book, get the 4 agreements.
You need all of them.
Learn.
What's the last book you finished?
The last book I finished?
Yeah, what's the last book you finished?
It's the one that said, dude, you're going to be a dad. Actually, stop reading.
That's a good recommendation for anyone.
Stopped reading it because I was catching up and he was like talking about like when you get to the hospital.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I need to remember this.
Jerome said, I'm getting anxious. Like, it's giving me anxiety.
I would read the book. I was reading the book, and then I was like, he starts talking about like the hospital and giving birth and shit, and I was like, oh, fuck, like, nah. So I'd like close it and like go back to what I was doing.
He was like, hold the fuck on. I'm not ready for that.
Because I read while I poop. Nobody else does that?
No, I don't know. That's weird.
I read while I poop, so...
Why can't you just say I read while you... I guess if you're a guy, like...
Yeah, I'm pooping.
You don't stand up and read?
So, like, I'm relaxing, I'm reading my book, and it makes me anxious. I'm like, I'm gonna shut this down.
All right, can you hand me my chapstick?
There you go.
That's interesting.
I stopped reading it. But I'm almost done with it. And then I have a couple other books.
Sounds good. Wish I could have a coffee. I'm actually, despite the smile on my face, really fucking tired today.
You're just saying that. You're laying down right now.
I think it's because I had 2 intensive calls with clients this morning, and they're 90 minutes each.
Yeah.
So it was like 90 minutes. I had a little break in between, but I was actually sending things to clients, and then I started another one, and then I was like, all that like adrenaline from like coaching, then I was like, oh, like I'm so tired.
What are they? They're intensive calls?
Intensives, yeah. So these were actually with business clients, but intensives are like, we just 90-minute deep dive into business, life, mindset, childhood wounds, like whatever the fuck.
Dude.
It could be a lot.
It's exhausting, honestly.
I gotta keep my energy up so I can hold space for my clients, but...
That's good, though.
Yeah. Wait, okay, so what are we talking about today?
Well, first of all, like always, what did we do this past week?
Oh, yeah, okay. What's today?
Today's Wednesday.
How about
Today's Thursday.
Today's Thursday.
Yeah.
This week's just been... Honestly, can we just skip to what we're doing this weekend?
What's that?
It's my birthday weekend.
Oh yeah, it is.
Husband of the Year award.
Hey.
My birthday's on Tuesday, so we have okay, are we gonna call it our bubble?
I always call it our bubble.
But our like immediate family members that we've been with like this whole time during quarantine, coming over. Mm-hmm. We're just gonna order in food.
Chill.
Soup, salad, sandwiches, play games. Actually, I'm super excited to introduce them to the VR set.
The Oculus?
Dude, the virtual reality gaming system is so cool.
Hey, that Quest 2 hits different.
It's awesome.
It's a fun little game.
And we could play Throw Burrito.
We talked about this on the last podcast.
But now we're live, all the things. But yeah, that's it. That's what we're doing for my birthday.
Yeah, it's pretty cool when my family comes over because they usually don't come over to our house because we're so out of the way.
Okay.
So when they do
we go to their house all the time, and it's the same amount of distance.
So it's cool when they come over. It's like, cool.
What's funny about having guests over is you like clean your whole house, make sure it's spectacular before they come over, and they come over and it is trashed, and then you have to re-clean it after they leave.
That's the Latino in me. Like my mom was it. That guests are coming over, clean up.
It's It's a lot of work.
Is that what everybody does?
Yeah. I was just talking to someone else and she was like, I know it's exhausting because you have to clean before they come and then they just make it dirty and then...
It's the worst,
Yeah.
bro. I'm cleaning,
So
I'm cleaning the counters.
My next personal investment's going to be like a weekly house cleaner.
I could just clean, babe.
Because the time, it took us like, how many hours did we spend cleaning the house this last weekend?
Bro, like 4 or 5.
Each day.
Dude.
Okay, that was 10 hours we could have spent with Alex. With our son.
Oh, yeah, with Alex, what we're going to be doing. Okay.
You know, all those good, perfect parenting
You're
things.
so full of it.
And then we're going to spend a couple days in Tahoe.
Going up north.
Yeah, I mean, we live about an hour and a half away, but it'll be nice. We're not doing like anything, but it'll just be nice to be in nature, ordering our food, be as cautious as possible, and I'm just looking forward to it. I think everyone's feeling this way, just so bored of like being home.
Dude.
I was like, I'll do like, yeah, that's where I'm at. And I don't want to take a trip. It just doesn't feel right.
I noticed like the other day, I was like, babe, you never leave the house. You're always home.
Because I went to Target.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You were like hella happy. I'm like, what are you like? Are you okay, dude? I'm like, because I always go to the gym safely.
Okay, but I went to Target the other day and Jerome was at the gym and I was like at Target and I'm like walking around and it was like so nice and so relaxing.
Yeah.
And I was like so happy. And he was like, babe, you need to like get outside the house more.
But I guess you shouldn't. You should stay home. But
yeah, but I think what you're saying is like dude, I'm like in the house all the time.
Yeah.
Like even our walks are boring. We do the same walk every day. Like we need to go. I was telling a client the other day. I was like, dude, I'm about to get in my car and drive somewhere just so I could take a walk.
Could do that.
Different
I know
scenery.
a couple parks.
Dude, something.
I know some scenes, some scenic scenes.
What are you drinking? Same old coffee?
This is an iced coffee with vanilla creamer.
I put vanilla creamer in my red raspberry leaf tea and it's amazing.
Ew.
Well, you're not going to be saying that when my red raspberry leaf tea gives me the perfect flavor ever.
I seen that they put, when we were like in London and stuff, they put milk in the tea.
Cream.
Everybody does that.
That's why I put cream in my tea now.
Is that good? I never had that.
You want to try it?
No. I don't like milk.
I put creamer, honey.
I know you put creamer, but I don't like it.
All right, moving on. What's the topic of today's podcast?
I mean, you're the one that came up with it.
I did plan it. I forgot about it though, and then I had to remember what we were talking about.
You're the one that switched it up on me. I used to tell everybody what we were talking about. I used to have it all planned out and shit. And Sarina was like, one day she just has to take over like
Jerome
usually.
has this personality type where like
Tell me my personality type right now.
ADHD.
Yo, tell me my type.
Okay, Jerome can't like. Okay, so he would like prepare notes for the podcast, which is like that's cool if that's your. I don't prepare notes. I just kind of go with it.
It wasn't notes. It was like an agenda, so we don't just
Yeah, like
stare at
talking
each other.
points.
Yeah, exactly, like talking points.
So he'd prepare his talking points, and then as he would read the talking points, he couldn't keep up a conversation. So I'd be like, yeah, babe, and so like, what do you think? And he'd be like, hold on, like trying to read,
You know
and I'm
what's
like,
funny?
dude, you're fired.
I almost want to say like, what'd you say?
And that's how our real life conversations go, ladies and
They
gentlemen.
kind of don't.
They do, 100%. But anyways, which leads me perfectly into the topic of our podcast today, which will apply to some people, or maybe you'll just find it intriguing if it doesn't apply to you, or maybe for the future or now. Is what was that?
Sorry, I was fixing my chair.
Is like working with your significant other, which has been quite the fucking challenge. I've been cussing a lot, and I forget we're on YouTube. You're not supposed to cuss.
Why? I cuss all the time.
Yeah, but I think, anyways, it's irrelevant. You're not supposed to cuss on YouTube. They'll like block you. But yeah, working with your partner hasn't it been great, babe?
Yeah,
would be the correct word. Just
yes,
kidding.
it has.
Trained.
No, but no, I look, I dodged it.
Anyways,
But
what
I
would you
dodged
say?
it.
I want to hear.
I was gonna say. So first of all, why are you laughing?
You dodged my whip.
Yeah, do it again. Dodged it.
Okay. What if I switch it up and go over there?
Dodged again.
Okay.
Fuck
Anyways, okay.
Anyways, what's it called? So when we first started dating, we used to work together. For those who
Oh
don't
my
know.
god, I totally forgot about that.
So we already did work together.
Okay. And you were the worst employee at the whole. Okay, guys, if you don't know, Jerome and I met at Chipotle. Okay.
Now everybody knows.
In like 2013.
We already said this, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's our beginning of our story. And this is a weird story to talk about, but I was like training to be the manager at Chipotle.
Hey, Sarina's always leveling
which
up,
is
dude.
shit, dude. And
Hey, she doesn't give a fuck.
anyways, that's what I was training to do, and so then I would be Jerome's manager. It's like foreshadowing. And you sucked. You were so frustrating.
First of all, I was a great employee. I worked hard, head to the ground.
Really?
Good employee, hard worker.
No, he was not. Okay? I just remember there would be moments where like we'd have to go take the trash out together and we would like get in a fight.
Oh, you know why? Because Sarina wouldn't throw the fucking trash out. And she'd make me do it.
It's a gentleman thing to do.
Bro, this was before we were dating, and I'm like, bro, we're getting paid the same. You could throw the trash out too. Like, come on, let's go. And like, this is before I even knew who she was, and I was
He
like,
didn't know I was getting paid more than him.
and I was like by like a quarter, and I was, and I was like, dude, get the trash. Like, I just got it and throw it in. Come on. And she would just stare at me and be like, I'm not doing that. And I'd be like, is she serious?
Dude, it was big, huge Chipotle-sized bags of trash. He was every other guy I threw the trash out with would throw it away
really?
for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you're my future husband. And
Sucking you off like that? Dodge.
Anyway, so we met at Chipotle. I forgot about that we worked together. But now, fast forward, real life working together. Okay.
Dude.
What the point of the podcast is. It's been interesting. I think like the first, 2019, we had that like idea planted into our minds when we lived in Aptos.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, okay, like we could actually start to work together. Jerome and I both worked in property management before, and we both hated it.
I hated it so much.
He hated it more than I did. For me, it was a really good job. I had worked my way up, and I made really good money, and I had a great position, honestly.
Dude, I just couldn't take it serious. Like they took it serious, and I was deciding to step out of this really fast. Like for me, I was like, I couldn't do it, guys.
If you've watched the movie Soul, what is the name of the person who takes their job way too serious?
Terry. The little
Terry.
scribble.
We all know, you know that person who just like takes their job way too serious, and you're like, dude, chill.
Bro, that was every manager
That's how you felt. I didn't feel that way. I know some great people in property management, but Jerome really hated it, and it actually got to a point for Jerome where that's when your anxiety kicked in.
Dude, I hated that job so much.
Jerome had this resident that was like schizophrenic, and like without going into too much detail, basically like totally lost it. Like it was scary to a point where like he started getting anxiety.
Dude,
and he was just like, I can't do this, all this stuff. And I was like, fuck it, dude, just quit. Like, just quit. And then that's when we kind of started piecing together how that would look for you to like come in and help me in my business.
Well, it was around the same time that you had just quit your actual job, and then you were gonna just do your thing full time.
Yes. So I quit property management, decided to go full time in my online coaching business, and that's when we were like, okay, because I quit my job in end of November.
Yeah.
And it was like January-ish when we started trying to like mold you in and like figure out, okay, so like how does this work?
Yeah, I guess the hardest thing was figuring out like income. I guess that was the hardest thing, right? Like,
of course.
First things first, like I could do stuff for you, but it was like, were you bringing enough like financially
in order to pay you or to like cover,
and actually have me as like a worker, and be able to still pay bills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course that was like me having to level up on a whole nother level. I actually went that February. That was when I got my life coaching and NLP and all of those certifications. But I think it's interesting because I feel like one of the hardest things about working together, I would say, has been...
Well, before you even say that, sorry, I keep that thought. I'm cutting off. But I was gonna say, like,
I was thinking really hard too.
Oh, I'm sorry. But like at that moment, like that's right when like the pandemic like thing hit, like in March. Mm-hmm. So then it kind of put us in a position where we were just always home together. Yeah. And almost like kind of let me work for you eventually, right? Like it kind of showed that you really didn't need my income. It was it was giving us more money, but it wasn't like life or death to say, or.
I think what you're saying is
And
like
you made more.
Yeah, the pandemic hit and Drone then wasn't working, and so then it put us in a position where it was like, okay, well, if you're not going to be working because of the pandemic anyways, work for me.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And we were able to like work that out. Like it actually worked in in an odd way that was a silver lining,
Yeah.
I guess you would say. And so then from there, though, I would say there's been a lot of challenges.
Dude.
Like some of them being like we would sit down to work together and then we'd end up in like an argument ourselves.
Dude, or sometimes we would end up working together and then just have sex.
That never happened. I'm so like, don't touch me, I'm working.
It was weird. It was like.
You're
One
an
second, we're
idiot.
talking
Stop
about
talking.
charts,
Anyways.
pie charts. Next thing,
This is your fantasy? This is your fantasy? That never happened.
Next thing you know, the table's gone.
You don't need the table?
The stuff is thrown off
Fuck
the
it,
table.
you're going doing it on the floor?
Yeah, it was crazy.
Anyways, my little sister could be watching this Instagram live.
She's not. Oh, well.
She might be. Anaya, did she just comment on there?
That was after. I don't know if she's still. That's why you don't go live, babe.
That's why you don't go live. I have to block her. Sorry, you're getting blocked. Gosh, my hair's like in my face. I can feel it. Okay, anyways, but no, I think one of the hardest things would be when we started working together, we had to like, I was like really getting into communication, like with NLP and life coaching, but this was before that, before I really like implemented everything I've learned now, and it was like.
This was before when we would argue, Sarina wouldn't say, "Oh, you're such in your ego child state right now, Drum. I'm not even going to speak to you." That was before this?
I think Jerome likes when I would argue with him.
I didn't.
You do, yeah. Because now when I don't indulge, it's like,
No,
he's like,
I hate
please
it.
argue
I hate
with
it
me.
when we're arguing, middle of an argument, Sarina will just stop. I'm like, you're in your child ego
why do
state
you
right
go into
now,
your child
Jerome,
ego
and I'm
state?
not going to talk to you when you speak
I don't
like this.
talk like that.
And I'm like,
You
why
wish
are you
I
even
would talk
saying
like
it?
that.
And I'm like, why are you saying, like, just talk, bro? Like, why you got to be a scientist?
But that's who I am.
I got to be fucking Albert Einstein while we argue.
I'll take that as a compliment. Okay, back to the point. We would argue. So like we would sit down and he would like ask me a question and I'd get annoyed by it and then we'd start arguing and then fighting. And then it just becomes a like, why the fuck are we doing this in the first place?
Dude.
Like it wasn't working.
The first couple of times, I remember like the first time, for me it was almost like, well, what am I gonna do? And then after that it was like, okay, well, once we figure that out, like let me make myself useful. I didn't want to just be sitting there half the time.
Yeah. But then even from there, I would say from your, like from a, I would say like masculine perspective too, is like you were like, kind of like, okay, like you wanted to be useful.
Yeah,
like,
and then,
you know?
And then Sarina's like, okay, well, do the laundry and cook dinner. And I was like, wait, what?
No.
What are you talking about?
First of all, that's not true.
I'm like, what?
You're actually my personal assistant.
I'm like, I thought I was working with you. Can you go do my laundry right now?
No, but we would get in these arguments and it would like trigger off our personal relationship wounds or like life wounds instead of just like a matter of fact. And I would always tell him, I remember I would always say like you wouldn't talk to your manager like that, so don't talk to me like that.
Oh my God.
Because he would say things to me as his significant other, and
Also
I'm like,
wouldn't make out with my manager. Here I am.
but we didn't ever, that never happened.
No.
We do that off the clock.
Someone say we're on the
Anyways,
clock.
so then we would get into these conversations and then I feel like it would trigger like a whole like plethora, like as partners working together, like as significant others working together, like you get into a work argument and it's so easy for that to become like a real life argument.
Yeah.
Like a personal argument.
Yeah, you're like, can you put ink in the printer? And I'm like, you put ink in the printer. And you're like, Jerome. And I'm like,
And then I'm like, you never do anything.
yeah. And I'm like, what? And then
Who's making dinner?
exactly.
But
And I go, I'm in charge.
well, I think for us too, because we were just trying to get into this, like, okay, what do we both want for the future?
Yeah.
Like, what do you want to do with your life? What am I doing with my business? Are we working together? This is when I was like, I want to get married. Like, you wanted to have another kid. We were
Let me
debating.
look at the camera.
But the fact of the matter is we were debating all of this big heavy stuff and it was such big sensitive topics that like for me it was like, okay, I thought we had this vision of working together and and we would get married and we would have another kid and like work in our business together. And then when something would go wrong, it would trigger like, is this not what you want to do?
That was you.
That type of argument.
You though.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
because
I wouldn't take it so personal like that.
However, if you want to talk about like, and we won't get too deep into this right now, maybe a separate podcast episode, but like the dynamics in a relationship is like feminine and masculine. Like you were like, well, I'm gonna like do my own thing, or like, what do you want from me, sort of thing. Like we had to get comfortable, to me, I don't want to say my business is everything, because like you guys are like, my family is everything, but my business, like my clients, my coaching is like everything.
Yeah.
Like it means the world to me. And so for me, I was like, at this point in my life, like there is no changing that. Like this is where I'm at, and like this is what's happening. And so I guess it became like, why would you go get another job? Like, why would you go back to work in like property management, or even going back to school, or do like, unless you really loved it and you were like, I want to go, and like, this is what I want to do. And like, and I'd be like, hell yeah, go ahead. But you don't.
No.
And so it was like, why would you not work with me and like help me and help our family and help our business, and like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then it became like, there was some weird dynamics. Like we had to get super comfortable with like what that means in our household. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess. Not really. What are you talking about? What are you trying to say? Say it.
But no, that's why I said like masculine and feminine things, because like everyone's like, oh well, like masculine, like normal dynamics in the household is like, oh, Jerome goes and he does all the things, and I'm like chilling at home.
I go do the heavy lifting.
And so it became for a while where I was like, I need to figure out how to fit you into my business. I need to figure out like,
fuck it, I'll say it. You make more money than me. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, that's not what I'm trying to say. I mean more than that. Like, yeah, that's a part, but yeah, that's a part of the masculine energy. But I mean, like, people, like, it's almost like so deeply ingrained in us. Like, oh, you have your, men have their role, and like women have, like, we're fucking cave people.
Yeah.
And I think we had to work through that a lot, and just like energetically, and I was like, it doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, I have a business that's doing incredible and I love it, and why the fuck would we fuck with that? Like, it's just, this is it. Like,
yeah, it was pretty simple.
Yeah. But I feel like you still had to accept, because you were like, is this what I want to do? Do I want to do something else? Like,
yeah, well, it felt like I had to make more money, or get another job. Like,
should I be doing just as much? I think a couple times you were like, do you want me to like do just as much as you do?
Yeah. And
I was like, oh really? Then like, how the hell are we gonna have more kids? Like, how is our life gonna work? Like, no, it doesn't work. And so anyways, now we like go to bed at 6 o'clock, and we were both just not pregnant life. But no, I think that's important to address, and I think for anyone who works with their partners, or different dynamics, I think it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, well, it's interesting to step into your business, and like you got your whole little stuff going on, and like I kind of just always left it to the side. Like I was never really in it.
Yeah.
So I kind of just like let you do it, and then like when you're like, yeah, like come help me. Like it's so interesting when I step in and I look at everything. I'm like, oh, cool, this is like what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then like kind of stepping back out and stepping back in kind of gives you just different looks.
Yeah. I think it's also really cool to see how, and I'll see like how you feel about this, but I think it's also cool to see how, as I grow in my business, because for a while too, it was like I had to learn how to like, how do I teach you? I had to like take time to train you, which was super hard for me. I had to learn how to, once again, what a lot of people or business owners don't realize is like all of your previous work experience matters, like outside of owning your own business. Like I was a manager before, right? I managed apartment communities and teams and things, and I had to realize coming into my own business, like, oh, I'm gonna be a manager. Like I'm gonna be running a team. Like I have people who work under me, and so taking the time to like train you, but then that you were my partner, right? You're my significant other, so that was really hard to do.
Yeah, because you're mean.
I'm not mean, but I want things done, and I think sometimes I can slip into that, like, if I want it done, I'll just do it myself sort of mentality, which is super bad. So I learned how to create SOPs and really onboard you, and now you know what you're doing.
Yeah, with your tasks that you have.
Yeah, with the certain things.
Yeah.
But what I was gonna say, like kind of even off this topic a little bit, is how cool it is to see, and maybe you'll agree or disagree, but through my business, how much we grow as people.
What do you mean, though?
Exactly. So I was thinking how you were like, okay, so now when we fight and communicate, I'll be like, you're in your child ego state, or like, why are you talking like that? Or like, it seems like I'm triggering something more, and I'll kind of like dissect you as we're having an argument. Does that make sense?
Sure.
But the more that I learn or do certain work on myself, whether it be personal development, like life coaching type stuff, or business growth, I feel like I get to see you grow as well. Like we're reading certain kinds of books, or focusing on money mindset, or like communication and different things like that. And it's super cool to see the more that I grow or educate myself for my clients, but we apply those same things, and then we get to kind of grow as a couple too, which I think is really awesome.
Yeah, well, wouldn't it be weird if like one of us was very a stagnant person with kind of just like the same thoughts, same energy like every day? It'd be kind of weird.
Well, I think that's why...
I guess I do agree with what your statement was.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why a lot of relationships I see, especially in like the coaching industry, I would imagine in other business like industries as well, but they fail. Like you see a lot of people separate.
Stuff,
yeah, because...
Well, you grow apart too, you know.
You grow apart. Yeah, like...
I don't know.
Isn't that crazy?
It's hard, dude. Our relationship is very interesting, but at the same time, it's very like close like knitted. Mm-hmm. I don't know what makes it different to another couples, to be honest. Like, I don't know why we can work together, maybe I do, but I don't know, like realize it. But like, why can't we work together, and like why we do so well? What are you doing?
Nothing.
Oh, why we do so well when like things come up. Oh, I said that I didn't understand why we're able to work together so well, and also like just all our problems and stuff, like our relationship.
But we also haven't always been that way.
That's true.
It hasn't always been that way. I'm telling you, I think the game changer was when I came back from NLP and life coaching, my life coaching certification. I learned so much about how to understand other people and communicate with other people. I learned a lot in 2019, 2020 about like communication. Like we all speak our own language, and like I needed to learn how to understand you and speak to you, and you.
Can that be true though? Because like I feel like there's other people with your same certification, but they have failed relationships.
But then it comes down to your own. And first of all, there's nothing wrong with a failed relationship.
I'm not saying there's anything. I'm saying we're special.
No, okay. It could be a good thing, but I get what you're saying. Yeah. Like some people's relationships fail, and with the same certifications and education. But at the same time, I would say. At the same time, I would say that from there, it's not enough to just have education. Like we can read the same book and we're two different people. Like I'm going to take different actions. I'm going to implement in different ways than you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it comes down to like, I mean, let's be real. At the end of the day, you and I both know it comes down to like your fucking childhood wounds and inner traumas in your childhood, and your upbringing, your limiting beliefs. No, think of okay, cool. So let's say we both go to NLP, but like I'm still fucked up from my childhood. Well, that's cool. I'm glad you went to NLP, but like now do the work.
What do you mean? I don't know. You lost me.
You know why I lost him? Because he was so concerned with our Instagram live stopping the stream.
Well, I have to go back and look at it.
ADHD, you have squirrel brain. I'm telling you, he can't look at one other screen or he's out of the conversation.
So basically, I wasn't listening to you. Sorry.
You weren't.
Repeat that.
I don't know if I should because the poor podcast listeners.
They're like, Jerome, fuck.
I said it's just because two people have the same certifications or education doesn't mean that they're the same people, right?
Yeah.
So like me and Sally could both go to NLP and we come home, well, maybe Sally didn't actually do the work on herself.
Or could it be
that you're special?
That me and you met in a past life.
I'm over this.
Could that have been?
Sips my tea.
Is this why we're going into 5D? Did I lose you? Let me explain.
Okay.
No, but seriously, take it back. Yeah, I think so. Someone applies it, someone doesn't. Someone changes, someone doesn't.
I think mastering like the art of communication literally has changed like everything for us.
How long have we been going out?
8 years.
We've been married for what, 5 months?
We haven't been married for very long.
Didn't change much, but still keeps us solid, right?
I don't even know where you're at right now. I think that's my whole point, and I'd be curious to see if anyone can like resonate with this podcast, or they found it interesting, or like you and your partner work together. That would be super interesting to know. But I mean, we could talk about this in so much more detail. I guess it just depends who's listening and like what you want to hear. Like when it comes to working with your partner, like, well, how exactly does that work? How do you have those? Like, we're talking a lot about communication. They're probably wondering, like, well, give us a tip. Like, what kind of communication? Like, what do you do?
What do you do?
My point is, if we started getting into that, we'd be here for like 2 more hours.
Give one tip then.
To learn NLP, okay? Nonviolent communication.
Not
to read the book called Nonviolent Communication.
Not everybody's gonna take a week off and go learn that shit.
You can do it online.
Well, what's one thing that you learned from
I said read the book Nonviolent Communication.
What book is that?
We have a whole podcast episode on this a couple episodes back.
We do, so if you want to go back and listen to it.
Yes. But just learning how to communicate, I think, is the biggest thing. But this applies to every relationship, so.
What?
Just knowing how to communicate with people.
Yes, I agree. Yes, I agree.
I think that's everything for now. I think I'll kind of leave it right there. Did you want to add anything?
That's all I had. I was leading off you, babe, because you're the leader on this thing now.
I'm the leader of the podcast. I'll take it. I'm the queen. All right. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you guys in next week's episode.
Next week.